So today we're taking a look at how to create cinematic video outputs on Kling. To that, we're going to go over some fundamentals like how to structure your prompt, shot lists, how to direct camera and motion, and how to use the first and last frame feature. Plus, we're going to go over some advanced tips with the Omni model so that you can get some very rock solid big screen consistency. All right, let's dig in. Now, as I often say, there is no right or wrong way to prompt. I very much encourage you to experiment with prompting. That said, there are some best practices. Because Kling 3.0 is designed to understand cinematic intent, not just visual descriptions, writing things in your prompt like cinematic, beautiful, high quality 4K masterpiece, well, you're not really going to get much out of that. Instead, another way to think about your prompt is kind of a hybrid script and shot list, in that, I think that these things very much help. If you list out your genre, your scene, your subject or subjects, the action that's taking place, what's happening with the camera, and the audio. Now, of course, you can prompt very simply, like beach. That's all this prompt was beach. And the model is smart enough to deliver on what you're looking for. That said, if we're a little more intentional and start layering in some ideas, for example, an establishing shot of a shoreline at golden hour, wet sand reflecting the amber sky, silhouettes of palm trees, we end up with something that is a lot more visually interesting. Now, as we move into a little more intentionality, I do want to point out that the prompt context length in Kling 3.0 is fairly large. So when we're moving into our areas that I recommend, like genre, scene, subject, action, camera, and audio, well, we can pack a lot of details in there. So let's head back to the beach, albeit a completely different one. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know which beach I'd rather be vacationing at. Moving on to subject and action. And I think good practice here is to describe actions sequentially. So in a case like this is a woman in a red dress in her apartment. She walks to the window, pauses, turns, and faces the camera. Now, admittedly, this is a bit of a bland output. It does give us everything that we asked for, although, again, it lacks a little visual flair. So giving this a little more zazz in two different ways. Again, we can just take our base prompt here, and if we turn on the multi-shot toggle here and run this again, we end up with, well, a multi-shot version of this, which creates a cut in the middle of the clip, brings us closer to her as she turns around. So a little more visually interesting. And finally, by adding in more context via, we'll call it our prompt matrix, thus giving the model kind of more to grab a hold of, and utilizing the multi-shot, well, we end up with an output like this. And this gives us a pretty compelling output. Short as it is, it does feel like when she turns around, the expression that's on her face instantly makes us feel like there's more of a story here. Finally, on cameras. If you don't tell the model what the camera is doing, it will pick something. It generally does a very good job with it as well, but you can squeeze a lot more juice out of it with some intentionality. For example, a scene from a crime film where I let the 3.0 model just kind of do its own thing.
We've got a rat in the organization. A rat? Who do you think it is? I think it's you. That's not what it looks like.
Now, if I'm that guy, I'm going to claim that that photo is an AI deepfake. So anyhow, if we take more or less the framework of that prompt, but instead we now ask for a lateral tracking shot from outside the diner, we end up with a shot like this, which is a very compelling shot, sort of a POV shot happening from outside the diner. As you'll note, all of the action is taking place, even down to our two thugs walking in. Now, I will note that these are not the same characters, nor is it the same diner. We will be addressing consistency issues momentarily. But before we head over there, I do want to note that under this tab here in the prompt bar, you'll find inspiration and presets. That's this breakout tab here. And within that, you'll find all kinds of things like basic camera moves, camera movement speed, your shot types, light and shadow, your frame, and your atmosphere. So this will give you, and all you have to do is as you're sort of typing your prompt, just kind of click in on one of them and then it'll add it in. So this gives you a good sort of starting point if you're new to this, you know, to explore some keywords and ideas here. Also, I mean, again, feel free to sort of take the ideas here and just prompt them on your own as well. See what works, see what doesn't. Moving into image to video techniques. And obviously this is a big unlock to add more consistency from characters, layout of your scene, and even actually text and signage from your source image. For example, taking this image of like a sheriff cowboy standing in front of the OK Saloon, the prompt here is for him to actually touch a pole off to the side and then walk out into the street where a man in black is waiting for him. Obviously, there's going to be a showdown of some kind. Let's take a look at the video output. Overall, a pretty good output. It does give us everything that we asked for, although admittedly it does sort of feel like our man in black has been standing out in the middle of the road waiting for our guy for the last 3 hours. A few different ways that we can tackle this. One method would be to use first frame, last frame, in which we can take our base image, use any image editor to essentially prompt out the ending frame that you want and then upload it here. You can use the same prompt. The model is just going to take this as obviously your first frame and this as your last frame. So overall, we do attain a lot more intentionality here. Although I will note that most of the image editors have a very slight color shift to them. It is somewhat noticeable here. It kind of works in this case, but that's something to be aware of, that with those frames, you should probably color match to your initial frame or, you know, do so in post editing. That said, my favorite way to tackle something like this is actually with the custom multi-shot. We obviously have gone over multi-shot earlier, but if we hit custom multi-shot, you can see here that we can actually time our prompts across our generation. So in this case, shot 1 is just our establishing shot. For shot 2, I changed it out to a close-up of the man in black emerging from the heat shimmer of the desert, and then back to our cowboy again. Now, by far, my favorite aspect of Kling 3.0 is the new Omni model, which is very powerful and brings together not only character consistency, but the language of your visual world as well. To access the Omni model, just make sure that you click into here and you are on the Omni model. At this point, you'll be able to upload up to 7 different image references or elements. Now, elements are the real unlock here. So with an element, you are essentially able to create a library version of a character, a location, or an item. It's very powerful. For example, an element of a character named Tom that I have created in here. As you can see, he consists of essentially 4 images here, and we can actually even assign a voice to him. Another character for the same project that I'm working on named Sunny. Once again, actually with her, I don't think I actually even assigned a voice. So let's take a look at them set in this location, kind of a dystopian sci-fi prison mess hall. Now, the interesting part about this is that we are able to use our custom multi-shots here, our elements of Tom and Sunny, and then for our location, I just actually simply uploaded the image itself. That is actually not set as an element. And then in your prompting for something like, once again, we don't really have to go into a lot of detail on the look of, you know, our location because, well, I mean, the model knows what it looks like because we tag it at image. And then to add in any kind of character or element, all you have to do is hit the @ button and you know, your prompts or your elements will show up there. So in this case, if I wanted to add Sunny into the first shot, all I would do is hit @Sunny. So let's take a look at what this comes up with.
You're never gonna make it, new guy.
So again, very impressive. We not only have a consistent location, consistent characters, but even as Sunny stands up here, you know, proper match cut to that action. So overall, the Omni model is very, very good. Another superpower of Elements is the fact that we can take an image like this featuring a character I often utilized, fan favorite Flamethrower Girl, whose back is to the camera. Now, normally when you would run an image like this in a video model and have her turn around, she would be a different character each time because the model does not know who she is. Not the case now that we have Elements. So running the Omni model,
I guess it's time to get to work.
you can also use Elements in image to video as well. So this is just our standard image to video. We have this bind elements tab here. If I turn that on, we can choose our character, in this case, you know, Flame Girl. And then as we can see, stellar result. So yeah, prompt structure, camera direction, shot sequences, keyframing with first and last frame, building scenes with locked elements. I mean, we covered a lot of ground. And to be honest, we've only really just scratched the surface here. I didn't even get to the video to video stuff, which is a real powerhouse for AI filmmaking, control, and consistency. So I do encourage you to try that out. And, you know, perhaps soon I'll be back for a run through on that feature. In the meantime, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.